The first time I ever hired Sterling, I stumbled onto top-shelf merchandise. Pretty boy knew every trick. In 2 swift moves he cradled my foot and brushed his lips across the arch. Each soft contextual he purred scattered the last of my self-restraint. Weeks later I ran into him again, this time at a charity where he was the client. He flashed me a sideways grin, wicked and reckless. "Tell me, contextual, do I still look like your ex?" Holy hell. This was no pretty boy. He was wolf in puppy clothing. 1. The private owner paraded a dozen pretty faces before me, but I marked him instantly. Not because his looks eclipsed the peacocks around him. Not because the damp shimmer in his eyes could steal a soul. Simply because the perfect beauty mark at the corner of his right eye matched the one I'd loved for 15 years. 2. Pretty boy played his part to perfection. Contextual drip dripped off his tongue, eroding what little morality I had left. He read the tremor I tried to hide, dropped to one knee, lifted my bare foot like treasure, and pressed a reverent kiss to its curve. Contextual, enjoy tonight. I hooked a smile, set the Merlot glass on the table. Crimson ripples painted our tangled silhouettes. I planted my heel on his shoulder and rode the momentum, pinning him to the rug, hunter claiming prey, then straddled the body beneath me. All night long the chandelier's fractured light danced across the liquid mirror in our glass. Next morning, muscles aching, I curled beneath the sheets and, with shaking fingers, opened Twitter. The top trending tag: Simon wedding had been toppled by a fresh headline, missed. 3. Yes, missed as me. Yesterday had been Little's wedding to my ex-boyfriend. Pathetic, really. 10 years together and we'd never once discussed marriage. A month ago I'd actually believed the grand proposal trending online was my secret surprise. Reality? I discovered the engagement on the news like any spectator. He never even offered a proper breakup. When I confronted him, his eyes were bloodshot. Aurora. Your Little is pregnancy. If you hadn't withheld for years, I wouldn't have slipped. Listen to that righteous indignation. Classic Simon, always planting himself on the moral summit. Call it revenge or self-immolation, but the trending topic was my wedding gift. Missed CEO dethroned by escort. The thought of him frothing at the headline curved my lips in a cruel smile. 4. A new tag overtook the old one the following day, Simon. Puzzled, I tapped in. A paparazzi clip shot through Sterling 8-fold telescopic lens showed Pretty Boy and me slipping into the same hotel suite. Though blurred, the footage zoomed on his signature beauty mark. The internet circus pivoted overnight, from shaming me to excavating my past with Simon. Old classmates spilled memories, 10 years of us, ending with Vivian. Netizens christened Vivian the homewrecker, her endorsements began to tank. Vance can bury a trending item in minutes, so this one will vanish soon. No matter, their nightmare has only begun. 5. To everyone's shock, the hashtag clung on for 3 straight days, feeding on a single tweet from Him Media, the country's largest conglomerate. President Vance, how fortunate, first you dated contextual for a decade, now you've married Little. All good fortune gravitates to Vance. With that, public opinion avalanched, even Vivian's fans fell mute. I stared at my phone, half appalled, half impressed. Savage corporate warfare, razor-sharp Wilder style. Simon used to curse the new Wilder heir as a reckless upstart. Now I was curious. I reached to Google the man when Sterling bubble popped up from Pretty Boy. Contextual, why so quiet? Was I disappointing? His baby client tone yanked me back to that steamy night. My cheeks burned as the image of carved abs resurfaced. Ellis physique, Ellis performance, rare merchandise. Pity I'm not ruled by my optic nerve, otherwise. I was about to block him when another text arrived from my mole in Simon's camp. Simon just landed and is heading to your apartment. A laugh bubbled out of me. The groom was supposed to be in the Maldives, yet here he was, racing home. Riley's grip clearly isn't ironclad. My thumb slid from block to send. Come over now. 6. Simon arrived faster than anticipated. Pretty Boy had barely peeled off his shirt when wrong button beeps sounded at the door, followed by Simon's furious pounding. Aurora, open this damn door. I traced the ridges of those abs one last time. Behave, Contextual needs to leash a mad dog. For a heartbeat, Pretty Boy's face darkened, predatory aura flaring where none belonged. He buried his mouth against my throat, sucking a possessive bruise, then finally released me. Disheveled, dotted with fresh strawberry marks, I tugged the door open. Sure enough, Simon stood on the threshold looking spectacularly unhinged. Well, if it isn't my dear brother-in-law, shouldn't you be sunbathing in the Maldives instead of ruining my night? Aurora. Have you no shame? Don't you care about your reputation? You're really starving, aren't you afraid of getting dirty? He stormed in with the same old verbal barrage. The face I had adored for more than a decade was twisted into something grotesque. Even the beauty mark at the corner of his eye looked vicious now. The perfection I once worshipped was gone. I sneered inwardly. He couldn't hold a candle to Pretty Boy. Who's shameless? Mutual consent beats knocking up your girlfriend's little and calling it romance. And honestly, he's younger than you, fitter than you, and definitely more skilled. I should thank my little for stealing this piece of trash. I'd never lost a war of words. Otherwise, what kind of CEO would I be? Simon's face darkened in sterling instant. Furious, he swung at me. Instinctively, I shut my eyes. The expected slap never landed. When I opened them, Pretty Boy's tall, steady back filled my vision. He held Simon's wrist in one effortless hand. Seeing another man with the same beauty mark drove my dear brother-in-law into a fresh rage. Who the hell are you, some bottom feeder interfering with me? When I crush her company, you won't see a cent. Whatever. Contextual and I are the real deal. I'd stay with her even without money. He shrugged, then flung Simon aside like a dead dog. The heavy security door slammed shut, cutting off Simon's view. When it was over, Pretty Boy turned. I was on my knees, sobbing. The ruthless glint in his eyes vanished, replaced by panic. He scooped me up, tenderness spilling out of him. Contextual, it's okay. I looked up. His eyes were gorgeous, long, teasing, that beauty mark placed just right. Innocent yet dangerously seductive. I pulled out my phone and transferred every dollar in my iMessage account to him. He's right. With Vance's power, crushing my company is like crushing Sterling Ant. I'll be broke soon. Find someone else to protect you. His lashes fluttered. He lowered his gaze, hiding the emotion in them. Then his lips brushed the corner of my eye, kissing away my tears. I drifted for a moment until his muffled voice drifted down. Your company will be fine. Trust me. I knew it was only comfort, but after months of betrayal and loneliness, those simple words pounded against my heart. The man I'd loved for 10 years had stabbed me countless times, yet this stranger whose name I didn't even know was gently licking my wounds. Even though everything began with cash, I couldn't push him away. I slid my arms around his neck. Let me sink into this fake embrace one last time. 8. After the tidal wave of passion, I lit a slim cigarette and stared into space. Pretty Boy, robe belted loosely, was busy doing something in another room. At last I picked up a timepiece from the dresser. When he heard the bedroom door, he stepped out of the kitchen wearing a shy little smile. Seeing those dewy eyes and thinking of what I had to say, I felt like a heartless villain. But I knew this bubble would burst the moment it touched anything real. I pressed my lips together and forced the words out. This watch is worth about 100 grand. Together with the transfers I sent earlier, it should keep you comfortable for a while. The instant I finished, his gaze collapsed into panic and defeat. If he'd had a tail, it would have drooped to the floor. Contextual, you don't want me anymore? Parting is the cruelest word in any language. Even a boy who'd hustled on the streets since childhood couldn't take it lightly. Get a real job, or go back to school. I set the timepiece on the table, closed the door, and told myself this was the last time I'd see him. Next morning, he was gone. The watch sat untouched on the table beside a bowl of cold noodles topped with 2 perfect fried eggs. A strange pang rose in my chest. I must be getting old, sentimental over the smallest kindnesses. 9. Simon's revenge arrived fast. Though I was braced, the sudden pull out of investment capital blindsided finance. Mist was my creation. After days of non-stop trending, the entire industry knew Simon and I had officially declared war. Contracts were cancelled daily, morale plummeted. Yet the person who should have been panicking mealed in my leather chair, happily signing the stream of layoff forms HR set before me. They didn't know I'd expected this. From day one, the company had been riddled with Simon's people. I'd waited for sterling excuse to send those freeloaders packing. I owed my dear brother-in-law a thank you. I tapped my phone, debating lunch, while my chief of staff, clueless, mistook my frown for despair. Sterling, should I cancel tomorrow's auction? Cancel? I'm definitely going. Simon and Vivian are giving their first post-wedding interview at charity. If the contextual doesn't show up, what kind of sister would I be? 10. For the lovebird's sake, I dressed to kill. A crimson mermaid gown hugged the curves I was proud of, the deep V back bared every inch of spine. The stretched Lincoln stopped outside the estate. The moment I stepped out, I ran straight into Simon and Vivian. I couldn't help rolling my eyes. Talk about bad luck. Vivian, minor celeb that she was actually posing for roadside cameras. I prayed to shrink into nothing, chanting, "You can't see me, you can't see me." But the paparazzi spotted me and swarmed like hounds on fresh meat. The questions grew even more pointed. Sterling, Vance, the two of you showing up together, are you deliberately refuting the rumors online? Is Vivian really the homewrecker who stole Contextual's boyfriend? Care to answer directly? Their questions were razor sharp. Even shameless skins as thick as that cheating pair couldn't keep their faces from turning the color of old ash. Simon hadn't opened his mouth when Vivian lost her patience. Right in front of the reporters she uncorked the performance art she called tea spilling. Contextual, long time no see. I heard you've been bankrolling some penniless guy on the side? Playing the stand-in game? Don't blame Little for not warning you. If you ever run out of cash, those men will be the first to fly off to sturdier branches. She thought her words would leave me mortified in front of the cameras. Too bad I felt no shame, only pride. I covered my smile with perfectly manicured fingers, graceful and poised. Then I only hope he loves my money, because big sister will always have money. The moment I not only failed to deny it but practically confirmed I was keeping a boy toy, Simon's face sank even darker. That little scene naturally landed in Vivian's line of sight. I could almost hear her molars cracking. Still, she kept blustering. I've heard Mist is about to go bankrupt. Who are you pretending to be, some empowered heroine for? Oh? My company's going broke? How come I wasn't informed? My grin made them even more certain I was slapping swollen cheeks to play the rich. Enough. I really wasn't in the mood to watch monkeys caper on the front steps. Under Vivian's homicidal glare, I glided straight into the charity hall. The organizers, milking the drama for clicks, had seated the three of us within whispering distance. Once seated, I could hear every poisonous syllable dripping from Vivian's lips. The moment the auction opened, she started chirping. Hubby, I want that diamond necklace, pretty please. These drop earrings are perfect too, they match my dress. My chief of staff beside me muttered under her breath, disbelief written across her face. How can anyone spend a man's money so shamelessly? Same sterling blood, and she's worlds apart from you, President. It was her first real look at Vivian's true colors. Hard to imagine a so-called heiress could be so brazenly mercenary. As my father's illegitimate daughter, Vivian was raised in the back alleys. I'd grown immune to the sight long ago. I merely smiled and said nothing. Piece after piece of jewelry fell to Simon's paddle under her sugary assault, and each time she had to kick the onlooking me. Some people have no money yet still come to auction just to make a fool of themselves. I couldn't hold back, the corner of my mouth hooked deeper. So they were convinced Mist was on its knees? Today's sale was streaming live across the internet. My silence looked like sterling admission. I was flat broken. 10 minutes later my chief of staff's panicked whisper confirmed it. President Sterling. Missed stock just hit the. Vivian caught the words. I saw the triumph in her eyes brighten. Let her gloat a little longer. The trap was set. I slipped out my phone and texted a single line. Start scooping up the floating shares now. The trader on the other end replied with a simple thumbs up. A few short hours. One careless blink and I had swallowed every last loose share of mist. Game over. The auction was winding toward its finale when the final exhibit appeared, a flawless pink diamond tiara passed down since last century. Gasps swept the room, every woman present forgot how to speak. No one more so than Vivian. She nearly catapulted from her chair, eyes blazing with greed. I bet she'd already picked the trending hashtag she'd buy afterward. Hubby, I love it, buy it for me. I nearly choked. She wanted it so badly she was about to cough up last night's dinner. All evening Simon had been sullen, but male pride still forced his hand. Unlike the previous million-dollar playthings, this one cost tens of millions. Seeing him sweat, kind-hearted me tapped a manicured finger and decided to rescue my dear soon-to-be brother-in-law. 100 million. The moment Mist's paddle lifted his face turned the color of bile. I tossed Vivian's own taunt back at him. Some people have no money, why come to auction just to disgrace themselves? The jab landed, men can't stomach a taunt. His hand shook as he hesitated, calculating whether pride was worth the price. Going once, the auctioneer called. He still hadn't lifted his card. My little's fatal flaw is impatience. Before he could waffle further, Vivian hoisted her paddle herself. 200 million. Gasps ricocheted through the hall. Even the ultra-rich don't leap in 100 million bites. Money doesn't grow on trees. Every gaze locked on them. Knowing Simon the coward, he probably wanted to murder her on the spot. He'd planned to top it by 10 mil and quit. Yet with every camera pinned on him he could only swallow the 200 million poison pill. I had no intention of bidding again, my inward glee was spilling over. Suddenly a voice rang from the mezzanine. 300 million. A tall, lanky silhouette lay half reclined on the sofa, languid and magnetic. The room's lighting was too dim for me to make out his face, yet some inexplicable instinct told me I knew him. Sterling illusion? I was too busy staring at my shoes, lost in thought, when the unexpected happened again. The auctioneer seemed to have received fresh orders. Cradling the tiara, he started down the aisle toward the audience. The irregular move yanked every gaze back to the floor. Normally you pay at the counter after the gavel falls. No one had ever seen a lot carried straight into the crowd, let alone a blazing pink diamond tiara worth 300 million. He crossed a minefield of envious stares and paused, if only for a heartbeat, in front of Simon and Vivian. Vivian's eyes looked ready to roll right out of her skull. But the glittering crown moved on. The final stop, me. 14. President Aurora, the auctioneer murmured, the gentleman in the mezzanine wishes you to have this tiara. My jaw nearly unhinged. We were total strangers. How could I accept a gift that cost more than a city block? The whirlpool of gossip around us roared even louder. I thought Mist was about to file for bankruptcy? Please, Lucian just flicked 300 mil at her. They're obviously sharing bed sheets. With a face like hers, climbing into the Wilder dynasty is child's play. While they feasted on rumors, I balanced on a razor. Take the tiara and my name stays glued to his. Refuse and I publicly get the untouchable heir of Quinn. I drew a breath, smiled, and accepted the crown. I've done nothing to earn such generosity, I said, voice steady. Therefore, I will donate the tiara under the Wilder name to underprivileged children in the mountains. The perfect deflection, yet cold sweat soaked my spine. Vivian's glare could have incinerated diamonds. When the charity ended, the scandal-fed elite filed out in decorous formation. Simon and Vivian trailed behind me, muttering. I almost thought I heard them sniping silence, another hiss, then nothing. At the exit a man lunged toward Vivian, silver dagger flashing. You swore you'd love your fans forever. How can you marry him? You betrayed me. Her first reflex wasn't to hide behind her bargain bin hubby, instead she yanked me into the blade's path. Damn, my curse never made it past my teeth. Simon, the nearest adult, flinched back from the glint of steel. Coward. Just as the knife tip kissed my skirt, a body hurtled in, slamming the attacker to the marble. Bodyguards finally awoke and pinned him down. Simon stepped forward for some theatrical concern, then froze. I followed his stare and felt my eyes sting. The rescuer straightened, brushing non-existent dust from his suit. Days had carved his jaw sharper, the boyish softness was gone, the tousled hair artfully groomed, and the tiny beauty mark at the corner of his eye had vanished. Ahem. I forgot to introduce myself last time, he drawled, smile every bit as wild and arrogant as his name. Lucian Wilder. He swung toward Vivian for the punchline. The pretty boy you've been bankrolling on the side. 16. Every prior scene smashed into fragments, reassembling inside my skull, the first meeting, those tragic eyes, the record-breaking tiara, the scorching stare of the Quinn CEO. The mosaic now made perfect sense. Impossible. You're joking. Vivian shrieked, pride cracked. Since her father brought her into Sterling, she'd treated me as her rival, whatever I owned, Vivian snatched. She thought stealing Simon would finish me, only to learn the kept boy she sneered at was the very monarch of Wilder. Lucian circled me, inspecting for cuts. Satisfied, he leaned in, smile lazy. Contextual, do I still look like your former ex-boyfriend? His familiar scent short-circuited my brain, proximity blared danger. We looked indecently intimate, and Simon, freshly ditched, felt the slap. He grabbed Vivian's wrist and shoved a ringing slap across her face. Vivian. Identify your real hubby. Her princess reflex exploded, cheek scarlet, she hurled the ugliest truth back. Simon. I'm a mom-to-be carrying your baby, and you can't even shield me, you hit me instead? Back and forth, claws out, they brawled in front of the departing camera. Sterling elegant Riverdale soap opera. I watched, speechless. 17. Within minutes Simon and Vivian clawed their way onto trending mudslinging deluxe. Vivian drugged him, Simon bedded every little in Manhattan hashtags that refused to die. I never glanced back. As the undisputed mistress of Mist, I'd outgrown yesterday's trash. Only since that night Lucian had gone on a relentless offensive, showering me with a heat I couldn't return. 2 boulders blocked the road, Simon's ghosts, and the lie that birthed us. His deception stood between us like a blade. Probably just another bored prince amusing himself. How much of his heart could truly be mine? Give it a month, he would forget my name. 18. I never guessed the day I truly enraged Lucian would arrive this fast. It was my birthday, and my bestie, fresh off the plane from abroad, insisted on dragging me to VIP to celebrate. She also demanded we order a couple of handsome escorts to mark the occasion. The familiar script made my heart stall. Sure enough, there were no escorts, no gorgeous guys. Lucian appeared like a god, tossed me over his shoulder, and carried me to a suite. Without the beauty mark at the corner of his eye for camouflage, his striking features blazed even wilder. The smile still curved his mouth, yet the warmth never reached his eyes. Contextual, he murmured, didn't you say you had a meeting tonight? I swallowed. When I'd turned him down this morning, that exact excuse had slipped out. He pinned my wrists above my head, hot breath grazing my throat. As his lips lifted, a razor-sharp canine glinted. Where was the obedient boy I once knew? I didn't know my friend would pick VIP. I couldn't help gulping. The tiny motion flickered across Lucian's gaze, stirring a misty heat. His hand slid under my blouse, brushing over my heart. I really want to cut it open and see if contextual has won it all. Behave, we don't break laws around here. My tone was pure kindergarten teacher. Amusement deepened in Lucian's eyes, the fingers looped around my waist tightened languidly. What am I supposed to do? I like contextual so much I don't want you petting other puppies. Contextual has to take responsibility for me. In a blink, the man who'd been issuing threats started to whine. My temples throbbed. Lucian, you're still young. You'll regret this someday. I won't. His stubborn rebuttal came like always. I met his gaze earnest, overflowing with love, and finally sighed. Maybe people really are different. I shouldn't let Simon eclipse what Lucian feels. 19. I ended up dating Lucian. A teenager's love is a tidal wave that follows no rules. For the first time in my life I knew what it felt like to be cradled in someone's palm. Less than a year later we simply arrived at the threshold of a wedding. The night before, Lucian's mother tugged me mysteriously into a side parlor and pressed a small album into my hands. Our little Lucian really adores you. Puzzled, I opened it and froze. Every photo was of me during my Audiobook years, yet I had no memory of him. I racked my brain and came up empty. Seeing my distress, his mother sighed and supplied the answer. When you were 16 and nearly drowned, it was Lucian who pulled you out. My pupils dilated. Memory hurled me back to my 16th birthday, the darkest day of my life. Father brought home the illegitimate he'd hidden for years, Vivian. That same evening Mother, unable to bear the truth, slit her wrists in the bathtub. I'll never forget how the woman who'd smiled at me the day before bloomed like a rose in crimson water. That night Vivian reached out and shoved me into the infinity pool. Layers of ball gown turned to anchors, winding me to the tiles. Before I blacked out, a white shadow dove in and swam toward me. Yet, when I woke, Simon sat beside me. I'd always assumed he was my savior, he never denied it. Now the truth lay bare, my vision spun and my legs buckled. 20. When my eyes fluttered open again, Lucian's anxious face filled my sight. Contextual dash whatever he meant to say was smothered by my kiss. Long and slow, until he was breathless. My own eyes brimmed, tears falling. I had never imagined that years before I misidentified my rescuer this boy's honest love had already run wild. Why didn't you find me sooner? I sounded unreasonable even to myself as I thumped his chest. Lucian gave a low laugh that said he understood. His voice was soft, threaded with grievance. By the time I located you again, you were already with Simon. I was a coward, I didn't dare appear. I didn't let him finish. I hooked his neck and dragged him into another heated kiss. Just as the room began to smolder, a nurse's awkward cough sounded at the door. Ahem. Mom to be in bed 10, could you two please keep it G-rated? Mom to be? As in pregnancy? Before me Lucian's grin could power the skyline. My mind blanked. It's all your fault. That afternoon in the master bath, flushing crimson, I hammered his shoulder. He only laughed harder, uncaring that the nurse still stood there, doting kisses across my cheeks. Wifey, you'll always be my whole world. Epilogue 1, Lucian. I'm the least valued youngest son of Wilder. Even the housekeepers treated me like furniture. At the Sterling birthday gala I was seated at the fringe, my first glimpse of Aurora. She wore a sweeping princess gown, regal under the chandeliers, a real tiara of a girl. Then her world imploded. The Sterlings announced Vivian's existence on her own birthday. Her father betrayed her mother, she was pushed into the infinity pool. I'll never forget how icy that water was. I hauled her out, then collapsed on the deck. Afterwards I was sick for months. When I finally heard news of her, she'd already left for Audiobook with Simon. Like self-punishment, I enrolled there too, watching them fall in love. Mother said I was cruel. I leaked my 2 older brothers' tax evasion files. In the end the Empire Quinn landed in my lap. When rumors said Simon was cheating with Vivian, and that Aurora had gone to VIP to order escorts, I lost my sanity and bent the rules. I copied Simon, adding a beauty mark at the corner of my eye. My own assistant winced at the humiliation. But the moment she was in my arms, none of it mattered. The end. Thank you for listening to tonight's story. If you enjoyed it, please hit like and share with friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more captivating tales. See you next time.